Hey nerds, and welcome to Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd. This week on Supergirl, we had a lot of shifting of what we knew about people, what people's motivations are, things like that, with Jimmy, with Lena Luthor, and even with Cadmus. But to start it off, we're going to talk about first the group of bad guys with the alien weapons. Now, we don't get a name for who these guys are, but if you're familiar with the comics at all, or especially the animated Justice League or Superman cartoons, then you'll be familiar with a group called Inner Gang. Now, this group of thugs and thieves are not Inner Gang. They're not called that. They don't even have the names of the characters from Inner Gang, but they have a very similar MO. They are thugs who are causing trouble on Earth, and they're using alien technology to do it. Now, in the comics, Inner Gang was actually provided the weapons by Darkseid. We know this isn't the case. They got their weapons from Cadmus, but there is a parallel there, and I do believe that this group was modeled after Inner Gang, and because they have a very similar goal from their provider. Cadmus wants to cause havoc, to get people scared of aliens, to get scared, to bring this fear, to hopefully get aliens hunted. Darkseid provided weapons to Inner Gang to cause chaos, to disrupt the natural order of things, to get things moving and preparing the Earth for an invasion from Apocalypse. Chaos is being the ultimate goal for both groups. So again, it isn't Inner Gang, but there is a parallel there that this group was clearly modeled off of Inner Gang. Now, the next thing to talk about is, really quickly, Lena Luthor. The nice thing for this episode that we saw from Lena Luthor is she's not just someone who shares the name. She is a genius. She is a brilliant inventor. She is manipulative. She's devious. She's cunning. She's got all these things that actually you would associate with a Luthor, but she does seem to have it on the right side of the law, the good side. She seems to be fighting for the angels. Seeing her work with Wynn to create, to fix and use that device to disable the weapons was very cool. And it's nice to know that she is going to be just as formidable in this world as Wynn or as anyone else. I think we're going to see a lot from her, and we're going to see a lot of what she's going to have to offer through new technology and things like that. Now, that takes us to the big revelation about the head of Cadmus, and that is that her mother is the head of Cadmus. Now, continuing the trend of Lena Luthor being modeled after Lex's daughter from the comics, Lena's mother is also modeled after Lena's mother from the comics, and this was Contessa Erica Alexandra del Portenza, also known as the Contessa. She did not always see eye to eye with Lex. At one point, they've both tried to kill each other. She tried to kidnap Lena from Lex. Lex actually had her essentially put in a drug-induced coma at one point, and most recently tried to blow her up with a barrage of missiles. So there's no love lost there between Lex and the Contessa. Now, the interesting thing about this character is she was actually head of a Cadmus-like group that was actually at odds with Cadmus, but this group was called the Agenda. And this was a much more devious group, less kind of blindly altruistic. Cadmus in the show thinks they're doing what's right for Earth. They think they're protecting it from aliens. The group the Contessa was a leader of, the Agenda, they really wanted to just make an army of superpowered clones or creatures and sell them to the highest bidder. At one point, they made a character named Match, who was a duplicate of the clone Superboy. And the clone Superboy we know was made by Cadmus. Does this mean we're going to be seeing some sort of Supergirl clone or a Superboy clone, or maybe a clone of Mon-El, the new visitor to Earth that Kara's been trying to turn into a little Clark Kent? Who knows? It's possible. His role has not yet really been defined on the show, and he seems to be a character that gets into trouble even though he kind of wants to do what's right. It's very possible that we're going to see him or a version of him turned into a clone of Superboy, or the character that the Agenda actually makes, which is called Match. So there are some nice parallels from the comic, especially that she's got this. She was a head of an organization like Cadmus, so it's not too strange for them to have taken this leap with her. Plus then the connection between, you always got to have a villain as a Luthor, right? Well, you've got that, you've got the dynamic between her and Lena, and when it all comes out, it'll be a nice issue that has to be dealt with. CW shows, if you're watching The Flash or Arrow, anything like that, they love having this family drama, and this is just another case where they're bringing that into the show. The last thing to talk about is we are starting to get our origin story for Jimmy as the Guardian. Now, I've talked about the Guardian before and his relationship to Project Cadmus. I don't think we're going to see that whole thing with him being cloned or anything like that. We are getting him as a much more vigilante, almost Punisher-esque, just not with the guns, but he's going to have Wynn being his tech, his eyes and ears, his, suiting him up, just in many ways like Punisher had different characters like Weasel or Microchip or other characters like that. Punisher obviously being a Marvel character. This, it's a different from the comics, obviously, but it's still cool, and they've been slowly building it up. Of course, it was convenient that they dropped that he is a black belt and could do all this, but they needed to change the role of Jimmy because, I think they did nail it spot on with him being dissatisfied in that role that Kat gave him. He needed to be out in the street. He felt like he needed to be doing more. In the comics, when, he was Superman's buddy, he was always in danger. He was always in danger with Lois Lane. And, call it what you will, maybe he's an adrenaline junkie, but he misses that. He misses being a part of the action and, in his mind, helping people and doing what's right. So it's a natural progression, even if they are dropping things about his background and backstory that just kind of are coming up. But what do you guys think? Are you excited for where this is going? Do you think the group of thugs was based on Inner Gang? Do you think we're going to start seeing something like Superboy or a clone of Mon-El? Or do you think Mon-El is just going to actually turn and, be brainwashed or something and work for the agenda? And are you excited to see Jimmy take on the full armor of Guardian? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. There was no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not for a couple more weeks. There was no Flash this week because of the election. So hopefully we will be back with Flash next week and Supergirl. So until then, guys, this has been Brian from Good Nerd, Bad Nerd, and this has been Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies.